Oh, lol. Okay. I don't understand what's happening. I'm scared.
Good, good, good. This is how we need to start every stream. I
Oh no.
Jinx is
Jinx
scared.
full of fear. So much fear.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I will lead you through the unknown.
Your hand is so warm. Your grip is so firm.
Why you gotta make it? Why you gotta take it there? We haven't even started this podcast for like, I think 4 or 5 minutes. You've already taken it to a gameplay.
The warm hold of your firm grip leads me through the darkness. It abates the fear in my heart.
God.
The soft touch of your masculinity guiding my hand, leading my body
Yeah,
through
boy.
this dark
Yeah,
and
boy.
confusing new world.
Yeah, boy. I want to go home. So I'm all alone on the bench, but that's because Jinx has updated the Animal Crossing update. When he does, we'll both be sitting on the bench.
Yes.
So close. So close on the bench.
So close on the bench. Ooh, next time we could both sit on my I'll put an extra bidet up there and we can both sit on my waterfall toilet area.
I mean, I was thinking we could sit in the basement with Danny DeVito, but
We could also sit in the Danny DeVito basement, absolutely. We'll just pick a different locale for each podcast.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeet.
Yeah.
Yeet.
This has been a hell of a way to start.
Yep. Hello, everyone. My basement in Animal Crossing is literally. I have the garbage floor that crunches when you walk over it, and it's just filled with trash and random shit and a shrine to Danny DeVito
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
with an actual image of Danny DeVito.
I don't think I've seen it yet, so it'll
Nope,
be.
but we will see it next time.
But welcome everybody. Again, thank you to Zaxton who's been pulling double time. He's been doing the timestamps on even the other podcast. So thank you very much, me dude.
Much appreciated, Zaxton.
And thank you to the
You're the
Patreons.
homie.
The Patreons. Very much. I would love some ideas on how to engage the Patreons because I am not currently.
Because
And-
we don't know how we don't do Patreon things ever.
Yeah. And thank you to the people who have been throwing in Twitch primes and stuff. I've been noticing that pretty much every time I start a stream, there's like an offline Twitch prime. So thank you very much. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, yeet.
And yeah, that's the thanks. You want to thank anybody? You want to thank?
I want to thank Tuner for being such a good friend.
No, you're gonna go pull the card out of your jacket. He's like, oh, I had nothing for this. I'd like to. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Satan.
First of all, I'd like to thank Satan, and I also want to say, fuck the Academy. Y'all didn't do shit. I'm a made man.
God, fuck.
LOL.
Oh, yeah. I had some really heavy topics on the thing today, and I really
On the
had
list, yes.
I had really no way of leading into it, honestly. But
if we are gonna talk Genshin stuff, should we just dump it at the beginning like normal? Since it's very short, and then talk about real things?
If that's how you want to do it, I thought that it would be better to do the real shit than go into video games, than go into games.
Yeah, we can do that.
I felt like
Let's start with the real shit.
Yeah, let's start with the real shit, because apparently
Let's
people
start
like
with
the real shit. Actually, there's a lot of people in the last podcast was like, "Damn, that last half of that podcast was just fucking."
Yeah, they liked it.
Real
I
shit
feel
city.
like I feel like the view count is much lower. The view count was much lower, but that's probably just because we didn't talk YouTube stuff. We didn't talk like Genshin stuff at all.
Yeah.
So I guess it'll be interesting to see if we do talk a little Genshin stuff in this podcast, but we do it later in the podcast if we'll actually have a spike in views, not just because of like the thumbnail difference. the thumbnail and title difference.
I mean, honestly, I think your thumbnail sucked. I think we should have done Jinx said what in the podcast?
Lol.
Because that's what
I mean, fair.
that's what
I'm not really I'm being really lazy about any kind of level of clickbaiting at this point. So I'm just like, effort.
To be fair, you did use Paimon, but we literally didn't talk about Genshin.
I mean, yeah. Still, though,
which
even if
was
we literally didn't talk
clickbaiting.
about Genshin, that's still like if the Paimon mattered, then there would have still been a high view count because view simply means someone clicked on it and started watching it.
Yeah. Jinx said what to Tuner? Not clickbait.
Lol.
True. Honestly, yes. Honestly, you could probably be about say that every stream or every podcast and just be like, Jinx said what to Tuner? He wanted to
Jinx
hold his
said
hand.
what? The tuner? Gay shit? LOL.
Probably. I love you, dude.
All right. So, love you too, but so first topic.
So this came up because I was talking to my artist friend, Pcat, who is a really good artist, and honestly, she's big enough.
A famous artist who works at Riot Games.
Yeah, at this point, she's probably big enough that random people have probably heard of her. So I would say
Sure,
famous.
she
artist.
has a very big Twitter following at this point.
Yeah, she does like the cursed Mikus, where it's like penguin Miku or Miku as a shovel or Miku as a hot dog.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I suck, because she works at Riot, and I'm like, oh, she's learning rendering right now. I was like, oh, you trying to become a concept artist at Riot? She's like, I'm nowhere good for that. I'm like, are you kidding me? And we had this long conversation about that, and so I wanted to talk to you about like the Dunning-Kruger effect and then the Imposter Syndrome, because that was on my mind. For those of you who aren't aware, the Dunning-Kruger effect is basically the effect of somebody who starts out on something, we'll say guitar, and maybe they just learned how to play power chords, maybe they just got bar chords down, and they suddenly think that they're the god of guitar, and then eventually they realize that they are not, in fact, the god of guitar.
Yeah,
it's basically an unearned self of a sense of like ability that comes right after you've like basically accomplished your first hurdle in a task, almost.
Yeah, when you lack knowledge, the knowledge and or competence in an area to understand what actually is like a high level of skill in an area, and so you massively overestimate your abilities in said area.
Yeah, because you don't know enough to know that you don't know shit.
Of that, yeah. You don't realize you don't know shit. Like, you play your first chord in guitar, you're like, oh my god, I'm an amazing guitarist, and then you realize how deep and complex the ceiling of guitar and like the entire discipline of guitar really is, and how you've learned basically the most basic of basic things.
You learn how to play Creep or Wonderwall, and you go,
Yeah.
oh my god.
I'm the next rock star.
Or you
and then you
oh no, never mind.
Lol.
But and then the opposite of that is the imposter syndrome, where you are actually competent at your job or at your skill, but you constantly look at like people who are complete masters of it, and you go, yes, I suck because I'm not them. Which is both really, really bad mindsets to be in. One I feel is easier to fix than the other. But
Yep. On like the Kruger-Dunning effect, I think the best synopsis of it in like a little soundbite is the actual name of the study from Kruger and Dunning's 1999 study, which is Unskilled and Aware of It: How Difficulties in Recognizing One's Own Incompetence Lead to Inflated Self-Assessment. Because that is the actual name of the study itself that led to the Dunning-Kruger effect, named after the two social psychologists who studied it.
And it's just very interesting when you think about it. But I more wanted to talk about how it applies to us and the things that we do. and I notice always that there's a lot of comments in your videos, especially. I'm bringing this up because you just posted your can you do floor 9 or floor can you 9-star the abyss without attacking video
Yeah.
for Genshin, and there's always like some comment that's like, Jinx, you always say that you suck at video games, but then you come in here and you make us all feel like shit.
Lol.
And so I'd like to talk about imposter syndrome with you, and I guess we can get into the Dunning-Kruger effect, but more the imposter syndrome I think was more
Yeah, I feel like
applicable.
both of us are much more leaning toward. I mean, it's a spectrum, right?
Hmm.
But like both of us are much more leaning towards the imposter syndrome side of things.
Yeah, and for maybe we can turn this into like a thing where maybe we help somebody. So like, is there anything you do specifically to help you with your feelings of imposter syndrome, or because I mean, I know you have that thing about
Getting
yeah.
it's the same thing of like in any. It's the same thing I do for like any kind of introspective thing. uh any kind of introspective thing, which is getting an outside perspective, but very importantly getting an outside perspective from someone who does understand me well and has observed me well enough to have a good fundamental understanding of my character and abilities. So like in my case, that's basically be like you or Jenny.
Okay.
In certain other avenues though, it's other people like recently when when like looking into and considering the career transition I'm working towards,
Right.
talking with a friend of mine, Trevor, who has like a lot of experience in the particular industry I'm moving into, and has had many like very intense, like long discussions about things with me and connecting on an intellectual level. Him talking about my potential competence in that kind of thing in that new industry has been very encouraging because of my concerns that I'm not as smart as I think I am, or not smart enough for like to be able to do that kind of work.
Hmm.
I think one thing he said was that like specific, and he's probably listening. He's probably going to listen to this podcast. So hi, Trevor. But one thing in particular he said that kind of like really hit home for me was when we were talking about like data analysis and business analyst work. He's like, yeah, I think if you just applied right now, you would probably and started working, you would be doing a better job than like a lot of the business analysts we already have at the company. And I was like, well, damn, thanks. There's still stuff I want to get in order before I really like make that transition and stuff first beforehand. But like, it is encouraging to hear that, I guess,
Yeah.
because like I definitely have a lot of imposter syndrome when it comes to aspects of my intelligence. Like my base level intelligence of just my ability to like problem solve and figure shit out and understand concepts and all that kind of shit is whatever. But in terms of my like hard skill competency, like, yeah, we've talked about this before, where like the kind of math we do for like the YouTube stuff is
Yeah.
pretty basic.
Yeah,
And
ultimately, it's
like,
very, very basic. It's just
yeah,
multiplication 9 times out of 10.
I mean, and that's what like that's like what a lot of spreadsheet work is ultimately, is just very basic stuff, but actually having to program the sheet properly to do the basic stuff in the large enough iterations you need, and based on whatever new inputs you put in and what blah 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 blah.
Yeah, it's
Right,
probably
but
honestly more complicated to do the
it's like the
spreadsheeting than it is the math.
yeah, exactly. And so like that's like largely the difference between like statistical work versus like really hard like mathematical work, right?
Yeah.
Um and like, I have this imposter syndrome towards my mathematical ability despite, building a YouTube channel and a full-time career for 2.5 years on doing
3
math in video games.
3
Well, I'm
ye
not full-time anymore, so 2.5 was when I
Yeah,
stopped
okay.
being full-time. Yeah,
Okay,
like
sure.
that was 6 months ago. So now we're at 3 years of a YouTube channel, but I was only full-time for 2.5 years, right?
Right.
Um, so like, so despite that, I'm like, oh man, I'm really not that good at math because like at best I could do some basic calculus stuff in terms of like how advanced my mathematical skills go at this.
Mhm.
Like I could do some basic calculus stuff. I could definitely learn more, but the actual knowledge and competency I have would be at best working into some early calculus stuff.
Right.
And then like anything past that like differential equations or things like that are just stuff that's completely beyond me right now.
Right.
Sure, I could learn it, but I just don't have the education for that kind of thing. And so like someone like, for example, like someone like Zajeff has much more of like a classical mathematics background than I do.
Right.
and is more educated on the subject and is able to do more advanced things than I can. And like 1010 is, because of his programming background, he was able to and did like program a simulation for a certain thing. That's something that's just beyond what I could do, right?
Mhm.
That's just beyond something that I have the skill set to do. So because of that, I have I have this feeling of imposter syndrome towards my mathematical ability, just because I don't have the education level to do a lot of the advanced stuff that like isn't necessary for the kind of work we do, but I can't do it nonetheless, right?
Mhm.
Like I know significantly less about like more advanced mathematical subjects and processes than like a second or third year like math major probably knows in college, right?
Right.
Just because I've never learned that stuff.
Right.
Um that being said though, especially with having talks with like Awent in the past and whatnot about stuff makes me feel more comfortable about it, I guess, because Awent is, a tenured math professor.
Oh yeah,
And
no. Whenever a Wenth
even
compliments
he
me,
is yeah.
whenever a
Like
Wenth
he has
compliments
praised
me,
me
I'm
for
just
like
like,
my thought processes and problem solving before. So I'm like, oh man, if this guy thinks I'm smart, I guess I must be.
yeah, that's the exact same way I feel about a Wenth. I've told him, it's like, yeah, every time you compliment me, the little monkey in my brain just starts banging his cymbals.
Yeah, basically. Because like that's a person who like really knows his shit, especially when it comes to math, right? I mean, if you're a tenured math professor, like you know your shit.
Yeah,
So like it's like, oh yeah, wow, wow, wow.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's stuff like that. It's like, and I think a big part of like combating imposter syndrome is actually being open to and accepting when you get praise, and especially praise that matters,
Mhm.
like in that area. Like when someone who is very qualified in that subject matter or in that industry praises you, that's definitely, important praise, right?
Right.
Like it like there's a big difference between like to me there's a big difference between like praise that's unqualified or praise that like is praise for praise sake. Like, oh, my mama said I'm real good at this doesn't necessarily mean much,
Yeah.
right? Um, but like someone like Owen, who is a tenured math professor, praising my like mathematical reasoning skills or praising my problem solving skills matters because he's very qualified. And like when I'm assessing like my own characteristics, Jenny saying I am good at something matters because Jenny is very intimate with myself and how my brain works and how I act and the things that I do and whatnot. So she actually has a deep understanding of my character and my strength and my weaknesses, right?
Right.
Like when
What if I compliment you on your gaming skills?
that actually means a lot, yes.
Oh.
When you or also like when any of my other speedrunner friends have complimented me on things in the past in like Monster Hunter, I'm like, oh, because like they have that level of competence that like it's like when someone who is actually good at guitar compliments you on like your guitar abilities or something like that.
Yeah.
But like I guess for me those are like those are like the two kind of qualifications of like someone giving you like well qualified praise is either they have like a high level of competency in the subject matter or industry or whatnot, or they also know you they know you very well, and they aren't saying it just to like pad your feelings or whatnot,
See, that I've
but
only
they
ever had
actually
one
can observe.
person.
They actually have like the experience with you to observe like your strengths and characteristics well and understand what you are and aren't good at.
I've only ever had one person compliment me on guitar who I perceived as good at guitar.
Yeah.
The problem is it was my guitar tech, and he tells me like, because I said, "Oh, I'm not good enough for this, or I'm not good enough for that, or I'm not good enough for this." Like, dude, you're way better at guitar than you think you are. But I'm sitting here thinking, he's like, "Yeah, but you
Yeah, but you're
also
trying to sell
sell
me
me
shit.
shit."
Yeah. You're also trying to sell me shit.
So
I get that,
I
yeah.
was like, he is really good at guitar, and he did give me like the compliment, but I'm just like, that I don't
It's
know.
the same thing when when like you're if you like have a guitar teacher or like a teacher who compliments you, it's like, yeah, but also I'm paying you to teach me. And you want me to keep doing the thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah, because like,
dude. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna side tangent. People are always like, "Oh, when a tuner in the podcast basically just says aha or like contributes nothing." It's like,
yeah,
yeah, it's because you talk nonstop for
yep,
fucking like 15 minutes at a time, and I can never get a word in edgewise. Otherwise, I have
yep.
to like interrupt you, and then I'm interrupting you, and and then
Although,
and then you hear
although,
me interrupt you, and then you're like, "Oh, he wants to talk," so then you wrap it.
so like,
Like, I
I
know
guess
our dynamic, that's why I have to do it the way that I do it.
yeah, and we've talked about this in the past on things like, hey, tuner interrupts me because I'm really bad about ending a thought when I can keep like building on it and building on it and branching off of it. And like we have this explicit he has my explicit consent to interrupt me when like I need to shut the fuck up. But we don't say that at the beginning of every video, so maybe we should just start saying that at the beginning.
No, no, no.
Hey, by the way, if
No, no,
tuner
just
interrupts me, he's not being rude.
put up a flash on the screen. You like, because I swear
Oh yeah, that's
we
actually a
used to
really
have
good point.
I swear we used to have a thing. It's like if tuner interrupts me, it's because I gave him explicit consent.
I'm actually popping in Premiere right now to like add that to the intro pop-up things.
If tuner just starts like talking randomly over me, it's because if I don't, if he does it, I'm just gonna talk forever.
Yep.
I know this was mentioned like at least a couple times, but I don't
Oh,
know.
it's definitely been mentioned so like regular viewers and like regular fans know about it already, but like most of the people, I mean, fuck, like what fraction of a percent of people are actually like watching this right now who are also watching like the last podcast, right?
Yeah.
Like it's definitely not the majority of the people watching this the later VOD of this podcast will be aware of. So
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. And I know we both have just a slight hop back on that. Just I know you know, the imposter syndrome thing. I know we both feel like absolute shit about the way we play video games because we're friends with literally Guinness Book of World Record setting speedrunner.
Login for I.
You know, and obviously
His flower emote is still the best flower emote.
probably. But you know, and then obviously Maestro kind of taught me everything I know about SNS. So
Right.
like I'm never gonna think I'm good at SNS because I know who Maestro Nox is.
Basically, I'm never gonna think I'm good at Switch Axe because I used to chat with Vanov a lot.
Dude, you never told Vanav that you think he's good.
Apparently,
You're
I'm
really bad at telling
that.
people that you appreciate them.
Yeah, it's a thing I've had to like be very aware of with like Jenny specifically as well is like being vocally affirmative because like the way my brain works, right, is that like once I focus a lot on heuristics so that I have like the basically like the mental RAM to like deal with other shit, right? So
Mhm.
like once my brain is like, oh hey, this is how this thing works, or this is the established premise of this thing, or this is the response to this situation, right? Unless I'm given new inputs that make me have to like question that and adjust it, my brain just goes, okay, yeah, no, that's how that works, right?
Mhm.
So like once I like respect or like a person, my brain is like, okay, yeah, no, I like and respect this person or I love this person. This is the established unless something pattern breaking happens that I have to reassess this and reestablish the heuristic. So that frees is a thing that like I learned up from a long time ago that like a lot of top level executives and entrepreneurs and whatnot do because like they need to keep the extra mental RAM in their brain available to like do actual problem solving and big thinking and stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
So, but the problem with that is that once it's established in my brain, I forget to be affirmative about it, like vocally. And so, like, you know, with like the whole you being my best friend thing, my brain a long time ago went, okay, yeah, no, Tuna's one of my best friends. And I said it to other people like Jenny and whatnot, and I was sure I said it to you, but apparently I skipped that part. And so for this entire period of time, my brain was like, yeah, Tuna's one of my best friend, if not like my best friend right now. And like it was that was in my brain for like fucking who knows how many months or year plus like that was a thing, but I apparently never told it to you and never thought to say it to you again because it was just an established precedent in my brain.
I mean, it's fine now, but
Yeah.
yeah, you need to tell people. You need to tell
Yeah,
people
and
the things.
I'm trying to be better about that because that's the thing I definitely need to work on is like outwardly affirming that kind of thing, I guess.
You said outwardly, but I heard hourly. I was like, yes, I want hourly
Hourly
affirmations.
affirmations. It's like the Facebook thing of the same picture of Jeff Goldblum every day, but it's the same. It's the same tweet. It's the same tweet of Tuner is my best friend every hour.
Yes.
Lol.
So somebody's gonna come in here and think that this is bad content, but you know what? There is no bad content. It's just the wrong audience.
Ooh, that transition.
Oh yeah, that transition, boy.
Oh
it's
boy.
flexing
Oh,
those
we
muscles.
got a pro podcaster here.
You have no idea how much I think about this shit. You actually
I know.
don't fucking know.
Man, it's almost like you're going back to work in logistics or something.
Shut up.
LOL.
But no, yeah, because
this topic while I grab my vape real quick.
Yeah. So, there's like some comments randomly that are like, oh, in the last video especially I saw, I was like, what is success on YouTube? It's like, oh, success on YouTube was when you guys made Monster Hunter videos, not this shit. And it's like, bruh. Or it's like, oh, success on YouTube was when you made Genshin guides, not this shit. Like, bruh. And I'm just like, come on, man. Like, I mean, really, if you don't like it, just like leave a dislike and leave. Why you gotta like take pot shots, dude? I mean, I don't know. I just feel like if there's constructive criticism, right? There's like, hey, I as a viewer really liked when you did this. And then there's you guys suck now.
Like that's part of the hard part about being a content creator, right?
Right.
Especially when you're like, especially once you start getting bigger, and like we aren't even that big. We were never really even that big, right? But even like at the level we were at, we're talking about like over 1,000 comments per video, right?
Right.
Like on average. And like that's part of the hard thing is like trying to filter through the stupid hate speech and the people just trying to feel a little bit powerful by shit talking on the internet. And then the people who are giving actual legitimate constructive criticism that you should absorb and like actually think about.
Yeah, and
Right?
so that's the kind of the problem.
That's so hard to filter through when you have like we never even were that big. Our videos are averaging like 50 to like 90k views. We had 165,000 subscribers, and we were still hitting well over 1,000 comments per video.
Yeah, and I mean, dude, it's like I know you've seen South Park, but if anybody's seen the South Park episode where Butters is like filtering through all of the shitty things that
Yep.
And like Jinx never did it. I was pretty much the community manager guy, but I would go through like every comment on every video. I really would, like, believe it or not, that because I considered that my job to just scroll through the comments, and I'll even like still do it today, and
Yep. I'm more of the like after it's been out for a day sort of thing. I'll look at like the top 20 comments and see if there's anything useful in there, because generally the two kinds of things that get like liked and upvoted on comments are either like, well, the three things are like either funny shit, actual points people care about, or like toxic shit. Like those are the three things that get upvoted, right? So like at that point like if something is like a common enough sentiment that other people are liking it, I'll be able to see it because it's one of the upvoted comments. But
yeah, and I just feel like, I mean, if somebody takes the time out of their day to say something, maybe I should listen to it. But
yeah, I mean, like that's the thing though. Like there's a big difference between listening to something and then to processing it and actually applying it and actually seeing and actually like doing it, right?
yeah,
Like someone can say something that they think is the case, but at the end of the day, the only two people who really understand the whole picture of what's going on with our channel is us two, right?
right.
Like ultimately, like that's part of the problem of being on the other side of like the counter, right? Is you don't see all the other shit that happens in the background.
Mhm.
And so like it is important to read this stuff, but that doesn't mean that every single thing that anyone says you should apply or do. And it also doesn't mean that everything thing they say is like you shouldn't do, right? Like you have to read this stuff and think about it and then apply it and then figure out if something is worth applying or not, and if it is, apply it.
Yeah, and
Like
I
not
guess
all
it's
constructive
like,
criticism is correct.
so you and I were talking about how when we read, sometimes your eyes have seen the words. You are following along with a sentence. You are reading pages, and then all of a sudden you realize that you haven't taken in a single fraction of information. You've just
Yep.
been looking at the words, and then there's
Maybe
also
even sounding them out to yourself,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah,
So
none of it registered. Yeah.
and then there's also the times where you read something and like it sticks with you, and I guess I don't know, maybe I should skim all the comments, I guess. But
I
I don't
mean,
know,
that's
I
yeah.
genuinely read them all, and I sometimes like I could even like tell you what some of the comments were like the day after and stuff, and
Yep. And
yeah,
like
and I
we've
just
had
sit
times
there and
before, like we had times before where like we DM and you'll like mention a specific comment, and I'll look up the comment and it has like one like on it. I'm like, okay, like while this may be like this is like constructive criticism or something, but like it doesn't seem like it's in any way a popular view.
well, the problem
Maybe it's something we
is
should
like
consider.
most of the views come in the first day. So if somebody writes a comment, they watch it 2 or 3 days later, it might never have the opportunity to have a like applied to it. So if it's
I
good
mean, yes.
criticism or good feedback, then I still take that to heart because it never had the chance to be seen by a lot of people.
And that's entirely true. Yes. That is entirely true. But at the same time, that's still an unknown, right? I mean, I'm a numbers guy. I like working with knowns.
Mhm.
And so if I read a comment, I'm like, okay, this sentiment might have some validity, but the fact that it doesn't have any kind of interaction at all means that it's an unknown whether it's in any way like a popular thought or not about our stuff, and I
On
kind of just
occasion
like file it back,
on
but
occasion, I'll throw those up
because it's
like
an
in a
unknown.
poll,
Yeah, exactly.
like
I
on
mean, these things are
a
things that are important to think
yeah.
about, but it is definitely like I feel like it's not healthy to take to heart every single negative criticism or every single criticism given to you, especially in the case of being a content creator where you just have so many comments, so many so much input, so many replies on Twitter, all of this stuff to consider, right?
So many
Like there's just
comments for me
too
on the
much
moon.
information. Yep. Yeah, it's just too much information. And but you also have to be really careful not to swing hard to the other side, right? Where you're dissent suppressing, right?
Mhm.
Where anytime anything is negative, you're deleting the comment or hiding the comment. Anytime any criticism is given, you're like, no, that's bullshit. Just because, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure a large percentage of it is just hateful speech, right? It's just hateful, people trying to shit on you or trying to feel powerful by negatively interacting with something.
Yeah.
But you also run into the opposite problem where people are where you're instead dissent suppressing and you're just completely ignoring any criticism, including the useful or relevant
Mhm.
constructive criticism, right? Just
Like I
because
said,
something is negative.
I've only ever deleted like one comment, and that was just some guy who was like, "Yeah, all of their information just like doesn't apply to you because they're thinking about the ways that speed runs work and like 20, 30-second clears, so blah blah blah." I'm like, it was this huge paragraph. I'm like, TL TLDR delete.
Yeah, I think that was the only one as far as I can recall, that's the only one you've ever really deleted. I mean, at the end of the day, we're fortunate that it seems like, at least as far as I can see, we haven't really ever had any of the really hateful comments get massively upvoted to the top of the comment list.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't know how the fuck that's happened, because that's generally a pretty common issue channels run into,
I did a pin
especially
of
if they have more
shame once.
controversial stuff. We did Pin of Shame once, and we had Pin of Shamed a few times out of memeing, and I still think the best Pin of Shame was the one Kanta put up on their high rank Almudron speedrun
Oh yeah,
they
you
did.
you you
And
couldn't
someone yeah.
possibly kill it that fast. You must be
Yeah,
cheating.
someone was like, no, someone should have said that's not a high rank Almudron, that's a low rank Almudron.
Oh,
And that's a low rank Almudron. Even though the quest said high rank Almudron and the quest rewards were for a high rank Almudron, they're like, oh no, you couldn't kill it that fast. This is obviously a low rank Almudron, and Kanta fucking pinned that message as a pin of shame.
pin of shame.
Yep.
Oh, jeez.
Yep. But yeah, so we have always actively tried very hard not to swing to the other side, which is why, we don't really delete comments and things like that, and we don't, as far as I'm aware, we don't really like, unless someone's like actively just like trolling or spewing hate speech, we don't really like ban people or block people on like either of the streams or anything like that. Like we don't really try, we if anything, especially Tuner is too bad about like listening to too much of the criticism and hate
Yeah.
shit.
Well, I don't know. I guess
Like,
I just feel like it's, you're making the videos and I'm doing the community manager shit. So my
yeah,
job is to do the community shit. And I
yeah.
guess I feel like that's my job. And
I just think I do think you jump too deep into your job at times. But I mean,
you
both
do
of us.
too good of a job, Tuner.
Well, both of us both of us in an entrepreneurial sense overwork ourselves. That's just how you overwork yourself. For me, I spend way too much time and too much of like my day and my energy and my everything like crunching out the numbers and putting out videos and spending hours and hours a day on Discord talking with different theory crafters and sharing notes and stuff. And
I just
you
spent
scroll
hours
through
and hours,
every goddamn comment on a fucking video.
and I just spend hours and hours a day talking to our community.
Talking to your community and managing the Discord and moderating and reading every goddamn comment.
And then also streaming.
And then also streaming on top of that. Yeah, like we both just overworked the shit out of ourselves when we were like doing this like full time and shit. In different ways. But yeah. I mean, ultimately, like just like everything else in life, it's about having a balance, right?
Mhm.
And like there's the whole like there's like a spectrum of like hard dissent oppression where you're basically censoring shit,
Mhm.
which is I discovered last night when I was in a Twitter hole is a really big problem with the crypto bros thing right now.
Oh, don't get me started on the fuck.
Yeah, like
We're not starting on crypto bros. That can
We're
be
not
next
starting
time.
on crypto bros because that's gonna be the rest of this fucking podcast if we do. But there is a lot of like censorship that happens in crypto bro communities, especially that Reddit. That is provable because we can see deleted posts on Reddit. But yeah, anyway. That like there's like that side of things, and then there's the other end of the spectrum where you're taking criticism too seriously and like listening to too much stuff and like reacting to all the criticism, which is kind of the side that like Jeff leads more heavily onto. Because like Jeff tries to take any negative input on like his Twitch stream and chat and any differing opinion and like actually talk about it and actually elaborate on it and actually try to like explain why it's not true. And honestly, I think it's burning him the fuck out doing that.
Probably.
So Jeff is like leaning way too hard on this because he like you is very afraid of, but what if I ignore a point of criticism that I actually should have paid attention to, right?
Yeah.
And since Jeff leans very hardly to the other side, I'd say we're like 30, 70, like 70% on that side, and like 30% on just not on like the whole like not paying attention to criticism thing. And I think most of the 30 there comes from me being half of the business.
The comment that really gets me pissed off is when people like complain about ads.
Yeah.
Really another banger transition here, actually.
Lol.
I had a guy the other day who was like very vocally complaining about getting ads like during the stream. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I'd love to know what's going on, but I got another ad." Like, oh, geez, another ad. Well, I'd love to know what's going on. Oh, geez.
Subscribe.
I'm not gonna be
Just
that way.
subscribe.
I'm not gonna. No, I'm not gonna be that way because I feel
I know,
like it's
but
really.
I'm just saying, like, there's a simple solution to this if you care about the content and you don't want ads on Twitch. Subscribe.
Okay, you can say that if you want, but I'm not gonna be that way because like I get that like $5 a month is a lot for some people. I mean, obviously $5 a month for an eight an hour a day stream. It's cheaper than fucking Netflix and generally more entertainment time.
Yep.
But it's just still one of those things where and they were like, "Oh, I have ad blocker. Why am I getting ad?" So it's like not only are you complaining about the ads, but you're willfully admitting that you don't value me enough as a person or don't respect enough what I'm doing as a person to like
what you get paid for it.
to want me to get paid for it. Like and you'd see that all the time on the YouTube videos like, "Oh, ads? I wouldn't know. I have ad blocker." Like, okay, you do realize you're just like tantamount to saying that you're stealing from us. Like, we
Yeah.
get paid when we get ads, you
Yeah.
know? Like, unless you're on Patreon or you're subbing or something, like, the
Yeah.
ads are
Or
how
you
we
have YouTube Premium, which
I
still pays us anyway.
okay, YouTube
But
Premium still does? Yeah.
yeah,
It
no, YouTube Premium pays you.
okay.
Like that's YouTube. Like we have when you if we look at if you have a YouTube channel, you look at your analytics, you can see in your revenue sources ad revenue as well as YouTube Premium revenue. So like YouTube Premium does still pay you. So people who subscribe to YouTube Premium do still pay the people that watch. But
Okay. Yeah, and I'm just like but then at the same time, these same people will, like, complain that, I don't know, there's no content this week or there's no something this like wait, what do you want, man? You're not paying for it. You're
yeah,
not watching ads so we get paid for it. You're directly contributing to us not having enough money to make this a full-time career, but then you
but
complain that we're not making enough content.
you complain. It's like the people who are complaining about who are simultaneously complaining about like that about any potential wage raise or like minimum wage raise, but they're not also pissed off that they can't get Wendy's at 11 p.m. because there's not enough people working the Wendy's for them to be able to like put out enough food because weirdly enough people don't want to work for a third of a living wage at a Wendy's on a night on a graveyard shift when they could be doing other things. But now you're mad because the service you want but also aren't willing to allow to be paid for in a way that allows a person to survive is not being filled. Oh no. Oh no, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions.
I don't know,
Yeah.
man. It's
Which has
almost
actually been a really big thing in here in Georgia. There's been a lot of a lot of local complaints about why do these fast food places not staff enough people so we don't have these stupid long lines? Why is this fast food place closed right now because they can't get employees? And the same people are going, but we can't possibly raise the state minimum wage from 7.25 or higher. Why can't these people pull themselves up from their bootstraps and get a better job? But also, why aren't these people doing these jobs for the service I want?
well, and then it's so funny because then they have this stuff where you know a fast food job or a restaurant job isn't for adults, right? It's for kids. For a lot of people, that's like, oh, that should be your first job, and you shouldn't want to stay there for 30 years. You know, you should go out and get a better job. But then they complain that their fast food is like bad
Low quality.
quality, low quality, or the orders are mistaken. Yeah, it's because people get switched out over and over again. You got a new freaking server every 5 weeks. You got a new person who's taking your order every 2 weeks. It's
Yep.
like, yeah, of course your quality's gonna suck. The same people aren't staying there long enough to learn how to do the job.
And the people who care and are good at their job go to better jobs, like you're saying they should.
Yeah.
It's almost like when you have a really entry-level, low-skilled, poorly paid workforce for this thing, the quality is bad or something.
Like, I honestly don't think that fast food should necessarily be bad food. I mean, there's like days
I
where
mean, if
I've
you go
had
to other countries, it's not. But
yeah. Yeah, and it's like there's
I've,
some days where I've had Popeyes and it's the best damn chicken sandwich I'll ever eat in my life.
bro, I had that hearty meal and fuck, man. Fuck, that hearty meal, fuck.
And then there's some days where I've gone to Popeyes, I'm like, this is a dry piece of shit. As like I don't think I don't think the material has changed. It's just the person creating it, like serving it. So,
Yeah,
obviously at some point somebody knows what they're doing in there. And it's
yep,
just other times somebody doesn't. And,
yeah.
you know? But
Yep. And then there's the whole argument of, if we increase the minimum wage, well, then suddenly the prices of these things are gonna have to go up,
not
right?
dude,
No, that's not.
theoretically
That's not how that's not how that works, though. Like this is provably true. In I think there was one particular thing I saw about it where someone was saying, "Oh well, enjoy that when your Taco Bell burrito costs you $15," and then someone mentioned that I think it was in Washington State where the minimum wage is $15 an hour. The most expensive burrito at Taco Bell still costs like $4.
Mhm.
Like ultimately, especially the way that these kinds of franchises and a lot of these businesses are designed, increasing the actual wage of your employees doesn't necessarily translate to a necessary increase in price. It just means that the ownership gets a little bit less money.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah,
they're
and that's
already like 80% profit, 80% profit, capital gains. But yeah, anyway,
that's
not
how it
capital
should
gains. I
work.
remember the word. Anyway, yeah.
That's how it should work, but
I mean, it's America.
yeah,
We're the place of big business for a reason.
yeah.
Capitalism and
But
whatnot.
basically what I'm saying is, if you have ad blocker, you don't have any right to complain that Jinx isn't making videos anymore, or
Yep.
that I'm probably going to be swapping out of stuff in the next couple months, and like you have no right to complain if you have ad
Yeah.
blocker. Yeah,
Yeah.
just saying. Like,
Yep.
that's the long and short of that.
Yep. Yep.
Uh,
If you want, like, if you aren't at the bare minimum contributing by giving your content creator a tiny chunk, a tiny
a tiny
of a
percentage of a
cent,
penny.
tiny percentage of a cent, so that they can actually do this for a living, you don't have a right to feel entitled towards their content.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Yep. Like, the most you are doing for them is adding a single view count to their view count.
Yeah,
You aren't actually even like giving them any money through advertiser revenue or YouTube premium revenue. And if you really hate ads that much and you want to support content creators, just buy fucking YouTube premium. It's not that expensive.
oh, again,
Or
I'm not
if
gonna
they're a
say that.
streamer, I get that. I get that. Yeah, okay, so like
For
either
me, but like for me, it's like I play 3 minutes of ads an hour.
sure. Yeah,
3 minutes of
which is not a
ads
lot.
an hour, split halfway between each. So 1 minute 30, and then 30 minutes later 1 minute 30. That is, compared to TV, that's a ridiculously tiny amount of ads.
Yep. But like, okay, yeah, here's how I see it. You have basically two ethical options. Either A, have the right to be able to like feel some entitlement to the content or want the person to be uploading more or whatever. If you have YouTube Premium, have a Twitch subscription, or watch the ads, or B, ad block that stuff and shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
These are your two ethical options, all right? And I get it. If you can't afford it, I totally get it. Like, you know, I have the privilege of coming from a first world country. I have the privilege of living in America and being raised in England. I have the privilege of being from an upper middle class family, like who I
Lucky.
never yeah, exactly. I like, even in like my privilege of being in a first world country, I also was at a pretty decent standard of living. I get it. Like $5 or $10 to me is not a lot, but it is to a lot of people, especially in other countries where the dollar is a lot more powerful than your currency is.
Actually, I think they've changed it for Twitch, at least. I think they've done something where they've done conversion for price, so it's not
Oh, neat.
as
Okay,
expensive, I think.
that's good. But like, I mean, that being said, though, there's still like a difference between like the international value of something and the domestic value of
Right, right,
something.
right,
Because
right.
like Thailand's $10 gets you a lot more than $10 does, even when directly translated into the currency, just because of standard of living differences.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, like ultimately, if you can't afford it, I totally get it. Don't bitch about the ads.
Yeah.
Don't bitch about the ads.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't bitch about like the free content you're getting and like the content schedule and all that shit. Just be less entitled if you're not actually helping, okay? I
I'm
get it
just
if you're fiscally unable to, but don't be a bitch about
I'm
it.
just sitting here like clapping my hands. I'm seriously just sitting here clapping. I'm just like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Preach. Preach, brother. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh god.
Mic drop. Next topic. Spoilers in streaming.
Yeah, that's the other problem with streaming. So I was doing Inscription, which
Yep.
is a pretty fun game, and I had people who were backseating the entire time. And it
Yeah,
was,
I get
I
that.
would do, and it's like this psychological horror game, and it's supposed to be spooky, and you're supposed to figure out puzzles and stuff. And I'm just like, dude, why? I
Yeah,
know
that's because
you're
they want to. It's because they want
excited.
to. They're excited and they want to engage with you and stuff. And it's a stream. Like the engagement and the "I was there" is like the two big appeals of streaming
I know,
content.
but like,
But
dude, come on. I'm trying to do the thing. And also like this is the other half of like the spoilers. Like I so Endwalker, Final Fantasy Endwalker is coming out
yeah,
in a little over a month. And it's gonna be all story. And Zepla is a big Final Fantasy 14 streamer, and she was talking about, and I agree with the sentiment. It's like basically we're going to have to, as streamers, fucking mainline this game, like beat it in 2 days or something. Be the first people to beat it, or we're gonna get spoiled.
yep, pretty much.
We have to either speed run the game or be spoiled. And then
Yep.
it's going to be one of those things where we're going to have to beat the game so fast. Is anybody going to want to watch our stream because they'll be spoiled?
Lol. It actually reminds me of there was this guy I knew back in the RX Discord a long time ago in Monster Hunter who, when like a new patch came out, he was like, because of work he wasn't able to play it for a while.
Mhm.
So he programmed his own bot to filter out anything that contains certain keywords so he couldn't be spoiled but still could be on Discord.
Yeah, I would have no idea what keywords to put it because I could ban words.
Yeah.
I thought about banning the words like the phrases "oh this part" or something like that.
Lol.
Yeah,
I don't know how other streamers handle that. Because like
they
I've like hopped
actually
into
what they
Seagull's.
have like a bigger streamer would have delayed chat and moderators who are watching the entire chat. Like basically you
Yeah,
say something and it doesn't go
Gotcha.
into chat for 5 seconds or something like that.
And so yeah, that makes sense because like I've seen like I remember I was watching like for like 10 minutes or something Seagull playing what's it called, the fucking time loop shooter roguelike game Deathloop. He was playing Deathloop and like I was like, wow, there's like no one like backseat gaming right now. What is happening? How is this a thing? But that makes sense. Yeah, if that's how you set it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure people like Seagull and anybody who's really, really, really making in the big money can
Yeah.
probably pay somebody like $200 a week to when I'm
Yeah.
streaming, you're watching.
You're watching and like, get rid of this shit. Which probably also could potentially loop back into the whole dissent oppression thing because it's also very possible big streamers do the same thing, but instead of backseat gamers, it's any like criticism.
Yeah, I know there's a few.
Yeah, I was about to say not to call out any specific streamers because I don't know nearly enough to like call out to like feel comfortable calling out any specific streamer about it. I'm just saying that definitely seems like a thing that could
No,
happen.
see, like this is the difference between a good streamer and a bad streamer. A bad streamer insta bans anybody who criticizes them or like blocks keywords to prevent anybody from criticizing them or something like that. A good streamer, much like a good stand-up comedian, uses the heckler.
Yep. That being said, good or bad here doesn't mean successful or not, though.
Mhm.
But yeah.
But also,
Definitely
some days you
successful
just don't
streamers
wanna
who probably participate in that. But yeah.
Also, sometimes you just don't wanna fucking deal with it with your mental. So
Yeah. Yeah, I get that too. Which is, was easier for me when I streamed because I'd have to actively try to pay attention to the chat anyway.
yeah, you
So,
just didn't read it.
If I didn't want to deal with it, I just didn't try to pay attention to chat, and I wouldn't.
Lucky.
I also had like the opposite thing that happened back when I was like streaming, Genshin patches and stuff. Like I had the opposite thing where instead of having moderators like filter out chat for me, I had moderators like Heika and Tony who specifically had to show me the messages to actually respond to because I wouldn't pay attention otherwise.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go to different directions like that. Yeah, instead of the chat shit posting and the moderators deleting it, the chat was being really wholesome and the moderators were shit posting.
As far as I'm aware, they both were shit posting. But yeah. That feeling when feeling when 50% of the time I wouldn't even respond to a donation unless Heika pointed out I didn't respond to the donation.
Yeah.
Lol.
Oh well.
But yeah.
Speaking
Spoilers
of
in streaming.
Genshin,
Speaking of Genshin.
the no attacking vid came out.
Yeah, I
Pretty
did
good.
another challenge run. This one was less a mechanically difficult challenge run and more a team comp design challenge run.
Yeah.
Because the entire concept was, can I beat the Abyss? Can I beat the Abyss 12 with 9 stars? You know, no like C0 5 stars, no 5-star weapons, all that shit. Without ever using a normal charge or plunging attack.
Yeah, and you use
And, like,
the shitty version of the reverse melt team.
Reverse melt, yeah, because I don't have Kazuha.
Yeah,
but,
because only an absolute idiot, a twinkle toed fool would have not gotten Kazuha when he released.
Lol.
An absolute buffoon. Couldn't have been me. But probably somebody else.
It's actually funny because, like, on the tweet of me putting up about that video, someone was like, "Oof, you did when you said I didn't pull for Kaza, I felt that so hard." Blah blah blah. I was like, actually, like it was like, well, like he's like something about like, you know, like too many people were caught up in like the initial impressions of Kazuha before he got fully mathed out and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, I mean, it's not even like, for me, it's like, I still recognize that ultimately, compared to like alternates like Sucrose or Xiangling, Kazuha's only really increasing team damage by like 12 to 18-ish%, right? Like, using Kazuha instead of Xiangling for the reverse melt team I ran for that run would only be increasing my output by like pushing on 20%. But like that wasn't really necessary, obviously, for like to clear damage-wise. The only reason I am still salty I didn't pull Kazuha is because the only team he actually enables in a different way is fucking Ganyu Melt, which is one of my 2 favorite goddamn teams in the game.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
even like my other favorite team is Hu Tao, and like playing a Hu Tao team with Kazuha is better than Sucrose, but only by like 14-15%. But it is better than Sucrose. But specifically, you cannot play non-melee range Ganyu Melt unless you own Kazuha. And so, like, that's my thing, is like, man, if I had Kazuha, I could run like Thoma, Bennett, Kazuha with Ganyu right now. But I can't because I don't own Kazuha. Like, there is this style of team comp. The only style of team comp locked off to me because I didn't pull Kazuha is one I want to play.
Yep. Like I said,
otherwise Kazuha's just a nice, like, he's a nice quality of life and like damage number improvement over alternates and other team comps. But specifically in that is specifically the only team Kazuha specifically uniquely enables, and I want to play it.
Yeah, like I said, a twinkle-toed fool. A twinkle-toed fool. An absolute buffoon.
An absolute buffoon. But yeah, the no attacking vid, like, mechanically, it was not an incredibly challenging run. It only took me like 2, maybe 3 hours to actually complete the run, and most of that was resetting the 3rd chamber for good AI RNG. Because this Abyss probably has the most AI RNG discrepancy in it. It reminds me of like Monster Hunter speedrunning a bit.
Yeah.
Because instead of resetting for monster spawn location, you're resetting for, will the fucking snakes dive on me this goddamn time? But yeah, other than that, like, it wasn't really that difficult, because like the hard part about that kind of run is figuring out what fucking teams to run. Because until you start really trying to do that, you don't realize how many goddamn teams are reliant on normal, charged, or plunging attacks to function. Like, every Jinchou comp relies on you normal attacking. Zhao relies you on plunge attacking. Ganyu comps outside of Morgana rely on you charge shotting. Every Jinchou comp or child comp, basically means every official comp, which basically means every electro or pyro comp other than reverse mode requires you to normal attack.
Yeah.
Like, so many comps rely on you being able to normal attack just to enable their mechanics.
Why do you think I like my reverse melt comp so much?
Yeah, you just press buttons.
Yeah.
You can M1 if you want, but you don't need to. You just press buttons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, it was a fun little challenge run. Definitely wasn't as difficult as the duos run stuff, and I don't even know if I'm ever gonna bother doing a duos run on this one because I know it's possible. I just don't know if I ever actually want to put the time into it.
Yeah.
I think the next one I do will probably be like a level 1, like a 3-star level 1 weapon run, because that one is also won't be too difficult. It's a lot more about formulating the correct team comps to clear that kind of stuff than it is about like very precise mechanical play. But duos runs are very precise mechanical play because generally the only healer you can run is Bennett, so one team has to be a pure dodge team. Because you just lose too much damage running a healer on the other team.
Yeah.
So like that does lead to it being a much more mechanically intensive run, and I just don't know if I actually want to put the time into that when I, have other shit I want to work on.
Yeah.
But I might do like a 3-star like level 1 weapon run, which basically means a transformative reaction run. But
no, you said
probably
something
run
about
like
a Kazuha Thoma Bennett team.
oh what?
You said something about
yeah, Kazuha Thoma Bennett Ganyu Melt.
Okay, so is
Because
that
what do you
good?
Yeah, that's basically the that's basically the best Ganyu Melt team if you don't own Zhongli.
Okay.
Because Ganyu Melt's really the only comp in the game that requires you to have a shielder. Like there are other teams like don't need a shielder because you can just dodge with them, and then certain teams want a shielder because dodging is detrimental to the DPS. Ganyu Melt is the one case where dodging is like a direct massive cut to your DPS, because anytime you have to dodge, you lose charge time on your charge shots, right?
Now, see, I've heard that Thoma is just a discount Zhongli.
Oh yeah, absolutely, he is. No, he's not very good.
Okay.
Thoma is, if you own Zhongli,
but he's daddy.
He is daddy. Yeah, the TLDR on Thoma is his ult has regular internal cooldown, so he doesn't apply a pyro with every hit of his ult. He applies it every third hit of his ult, so he can't act as a melt enabler. Yeah, he can't act as a melt enabler. Also, his shield, while it's very long, it lasts for a very long time. In fact, you can keep it up perpetually if you keep your rotations clean. Thoma's shield is significantly weaker than Zhongli's, even assuming you manage to stack it all the way to max by not getting hits and building it up. Billy, it's not the same shield as Zhongli. It's significantly weaker. Because of the fact that Thoma has so much less health than Zhongli does. At level 80, Thoma's base health is like 8,500 or something, and Zhongli's is like 13 or 14k. So that means that any HP percent in your build is significantly weaker, which means the scaling is much weaker. On top of that, Zhongli has a 50% damage resistance on the shield. Thoma at max stacks, like assuming you put the exact same build off of a Thoma onto a Zhongli's shield is significantly stronger, just because better HP scaling and because extra resistance, even at max stack Thoma. Like, it's a significant difference.
And then Geo Shields is like a universal.
It's because the Geo Shields have the universal damage resistance.
Right. And
then on top of that, ER
only
requirements.
I mean, it'd be better. Yeah. Would it even be better assuming it was a pyro only enemy?
Yes, because 200% resistance then. Yeah. It would be better against
would the 200% account for the less overall?
Yeah, for the discrepancy. It's not that much lower. Like, I saw in the last TC podcast when they talked about Thoma, forget who it was. I think it was a Jeff or Tentem brought up a chart showing, like, based on artifact quality and whatnot, like basically the strength of shields, and it's not much lower than Zhongli's. It's still the second strongest shield in the game, but it's not much lower than Zhongli's. So if it was a pyro enemy, yeah, it would be better. But the other big issue with Thoma is his ER requirements, because you need to run like bare minimum 180 ER on Thoma, and Zhongli just stacks HP and a black tassel and laughs. Like, so not only do you have lower scaling on any stats you're getting on him, you also have to build ER. So you're sacrificing HP percent substats for that.
Speaking of things, is there much you want to talk more about Thoma, or is it just going to be kind of
not really?
Okay.
Like, it's just TLDR on Thoma, he doesn't melt enable, so really his only job is to be a discount Zhongli and be a random shield unit in your team if you need a shield and don't want to run Diona as a healer as well for that. His damage is low, so he's not really worth running for damage reasons. And then like the only meta place he has is in the Hu Tao comp, because he basically replaces Amber in the Hu Tao VV comp, where you run Hu Tao Jingqiu, either Kazuha or Sucrose and Thoma, so you have a shield this time, but can apply pyro so you can VV pyro for Hu Tao. Because normally you run Amber or Xinyan in that role, but Thoma's better than Xinyan in that role, and better than Amber for that role, unless you own an Elegy, in which case Amber is the best damage option. But yeah, that's it. That's Thoma.
Well, okay, and so I wanted to talk about some artifact sets, because in the 9-star video, the no auto attacking video, you said something about how Kaya's best artifact set would be Lava Walker.
In that situation, yes.
But the pyro damage or the bonus is what, 30%, right?
35%.
Couldn't you achieve something similar with an ER set with just a very minimal amount of ER? Especially because Kaya's substat is ER.
ER set only applies to your ultimate.
Only the ultimate?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it basically be like it's like how a 2NO to Blizzard Strayer would give you 35%, which is equivalent to the Lava Walker, but Lava Walker also applies to Kaya's E.
Okay.
And same thing is like, I don't even remember what the fucking breakpoint is to hit 35% on Emblem of Severed Fates. Emblem of Severed Fate. But either way, it'd be too much ER, even if it were the case. Like, it's 25% of energy recharge. So 0.35 divided by 0.25 is okay. You need 140 ER, which is around the range he actually runs. So like that actually wouldn't be too much ER, but it only applies to elemental burst.
Okay. There was a comment in the video that said something like that, but it showed up like 2 days later, so it didn't.
I get you.
I thought I'd bring it up to you if you wanted to.
I have half considered making a quick video just discussing the reverse melt comp, and maybe like doing quick videos just like discussing rotations on specific
Do you need
comps.
some footage for it?
For Kazuha, yes, obviously, but fuck you. But yeah, no, that's the thing to address is like, yes, you only need 140 ER in order for the Emblem of Severed Fate sets to give you the same damage bonus for your ult. However, it only applies to your ult, and like a little over a quarter of Kaya's damage comes from his E, so closer to a third in melt teams. So like, yeah, like his E is still important. Same with the Rosario, her E is still important for her damage output. So like, Lava Walkers is the best set for them, but farming Lava Walkers is fucking pain. So
yeah, I imagine most people probably have better Emblem of Severed Fate sets than they do Lava Walker sets, because
and then even that you're still probably better off running a 2-piece Blizzard Strafe, 2-piece NO, because it's a mix set.
The only person who has a good Lava Walker set is you, because you put it on Diluc.
Even then, my Lava Walker set isn't better. Because, like, we're talking, like, you know, versus, like, a 2NO2 Blizzard Strayer, again, it's the same damage increase for, like, your ult, right? But it's like 20% more damage for your E, which makes up, like, 20% of your damage, or roughly, as Rosario, maybe 25%, and maybe 30% as Kaya, right? In the melt team. So, like, that's the difference of, let's just say that's, like, a difference of, let's see, 1.2, like, 0.2 times 0.25. So that's a difference of, like, 5% damage difference, right?
That can easily be made up in substats.
5% damage difference is 2 to 3 substats.
Yeah.
Like, good substats. Like, if you get 2 to 3 crit rate, crit damage attack, or, like, EM substats, you've made up that damage difference.
Yeah.
So, like, that's the problem is, like, yeah, technically Lava Walk is the best set, but you only need, like, 2 to 3 good substats difference between a 2NO2 Blizzard Strayer set versus a full Lava Walker set for it to be better, which is why both of them ran 2 Blizzard Strayer 2NO, because that just led to the most damage, because better substats.
Yeah.
Substats pretty much always roughly equal, like, about 2%, 2.5% sometimes, maybe 3 if it's, like, the perfect substat, to your damage, roughly. So around 2% per substat is kind of the difference normally.
Okay.
Yep.
No, I thought I'd bring that up. Like I said, it's, you know, I read every comment.
Yeah.
say hi to me in the comments section if you want. If you've made it this far in the podcast, say hi to me in the comments. I'll read it and it'll make my day.
Yeah. All right.
But I think that's
I
enough
got like
of Genshin, and
yeah.
you've
I
only
was about to say, I
got
got
like
like 15 minutes left ish. Yeah, 15 minutes. Let's say
yeah.
2:20 is pretty much the latest I want to be hopping off. So
Okay.
moving on from Genshin.
Yeah, into general gaming, which so fun news, Animal Crossing New Horizons just came out. It just released out of open beta. Paid open beta.
Lol. Yep.
There's so many things that were missing from that game, and they finally fucking put them in. So the game is actually officially released, I will say, after a year and a half of open beta.
Yep.
And again,
Lol.
I think it would be fun to just kind of like
For those who don't get the joke, it's the 2.0 patch that fixes all the a bunch of the problems. But
yeah,
yes.
yeah, it was a paid open beta. It's where they is kind of dude. There's seriously so many things missing from it. I mean, just like basic shops, characters.
1.0 was missing a lot of stuff for sure.
Features, holidays. Like they released the game without any holidays. Like if you skip forward, if you bought the game in March, you skip forward to Christmas, there was no Santa. There was no Christmas event. It just didn't exist.
Yep, because they didn't have to patch it in until actual Christmas happened.
Yeah,
so.
Well, you wouldn't have seen it anyways unless you time skips. Like, bro, it's my game. Let me play it however the fuck I want. Like,
it's Animal Crossing.
But yeah, no. So the game's out. I definitely recommend picking it up. Again, if you enjoyed it in the initial release and found it lacking as you went through, like maybe give it another shot. I started a new world. So you know, there's also a DLC that came out. Might be interesting, might be not interesting. I don't know. I haven't picked it up yet, but
yep.
Jinx and I will probably be sitting on this bench in the next podcast. So.
Yep. Or we'll be sitting in my basement. We'll see.
Oh yeah, in the you know what? No, the basement. We're gonna be in Jinx's basement. He's gonna keep me in his basement.
Y'all get to see my beautiful basement.
Played Inscription this last week. Very good game. I think you would enjoy it. It's a good game. I was disappointed that the gameplay changed later. But it makes sense why it did. It's one of those things where like the beginning of the game was so good that even though the later part of the game was still good, I was frustrated at it because it wasn't the same game I was playing. I wanted more of that beginning part, which led me into playing Legends of Runeterra because everybody said, well, if you really like this, you should just play like Legends of Runeterra or Hearthstone. And somebody even said Slay the Spire, which I've never played Slay the Spire, but apparently that's exactly what the beginning of the game is. It's just Slay the Spire. But I did play Legends of Runeterra. It is a good game. That's the game that PCAT works on too, so I got to talk with her about it. I'm also pissed. Also very pissed at Legends of Runeterra because they have a Poppy skin that doesn't exist in actual League of Legends. And it's bullshit. Let's see if I can pull this up on screen real quick. Yeah. This is the Poppy skin that doesn't exist in actual League of Legends. It's a Battle Academy Poppy. And I'm livid that I can't have
the smirk.
Yeah.
The smirk.
Oh god, it's
God, there's a name for that specific kind of smirk in anime. It's a something Gao. I just forget what it is.
Smug Gao? I don't know.
Might be Smug Gao actually, but yeah. My favorite is Gesu Gao.
Shut the fuck up.
Because I have an unhealthy attraction to crazy people.
Shut the fuck up. Hey. But yeah, and then speaking of Legends of Runeterra and League of Legends, Arcane is soon, and we will be watching
Arcane is today, I think.
Yeah. We will be watching that on stream because I'm allowed to do that.
Oh, you are?
Yep.
Oh,
I am allowed to stream Arcane.
Cool.
I just can't save the VOD, so like I'll have to delete the VOD. So anybody on YouTube who's hearing this, I mean, you probably wanted to watch it by yourself anyways, but
Yeah, but neat.
the average yandere enjoyer, no, please. No, yandere is like the worst.
Lol.
You need I need kudere. I need smug dere. No, smug
Lol.
dere. I don't know if this is an actual official thing, but I've always called it smug dere. It's because she
You
loves
know
you.
yandere? Haha, get it? Cause you know. It's a pun. Anyway.
She's like she loves you, but she's smug about it. And the example that I always use is Senjo Gahara from the Monogatari series. So she loves you, but she's smug about it, and she knows you love her too.
Not quite going into like the teasing, like the hard teasing. What's it fucking called? Don't bully me, Nago, whatever. Side of things.
Yeah, no, that's just like tsundere with extra steps.
Yeah, it's tsundere with very intense teasing, smirking. There's another specific gal for that, but I don't remember the fucking name. I'm not enough of a weeb.
Not enough of a weeb, for shame.
Not enough of a weeb. I just like Gesu gal.
Jinx's favorite tags are very different from mine.
Tuner's tag. Hand holding. Jinx's tag. 20 blurred out tags.
Hand holding. Vanilla. Eye contact. True love. Reverse NTR. What? ...
Jinx being Jinx? Yes. Actually, so the reason why, so for those who don't know, the reason why my like online name is Jinjinx, like the Jinjinx, the Jinjin part comes from the fact that my Chinese name is Yongjin, and in my family, which is I think that some Chinese families do, like the family pet name for someone is the last like syllable of their Chinese name doubled over. So a lot of my like cousins and uncles and aunties and whatnot refer to me as Jinjin growing up at like family reunions, or Jinjin. So Jinjinx, but the reason why the Jinx was in there was because this was back when I was playing a lot of League of Legends and I was incredibly manic all the goddamn time, and so I really connected with Jinx because Jinx is literally mania personified. So I connected with the character concept of Jinx a lot because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm manic all the fucking time too. Woo! Explosions. I can't tell you how many times I listened to like the Get Jinxed music video like on loop back then. So yeah, that's where the Jinx part comes from. Then later the Jinx part kind of transformed into also I'm really unlucky in video games for some goddamn reason.
The fucking 200 Colv runs to get a glutton.
Fuck you.
I got it on my second run and I deleted it because I didn't because it was a level good. 7 weapon.
Fuck you. But yeah, that's the origin story of Jinjinx.
I feel like we've already told them, but
I mean, yeah, but this is for those watching the VOD on YouTube later who don't know the deep lore behind Jinx's name.
I thought this was already in a podcast.
Probably? I don't fucking know. Probably.
Well, yeah. If it wasn't, then Tuner came from God, this is so I made League of Legends names, and I always did alliteration. I had other names before, but then I made Tuna Taco for a Vocaloid character, Luca. You can see in the game I have a Luca hat on, but Luca's like my favorite Vocaloid, which is a musical program created for synthesizing voices.
If you don't know what a Vocaloid is, just look it up on YouTube and you'll instantly know what a Vocaloid is.
Yeah, if you want to like understand what it is, I think the best Vocaloid song you could introduce somebody to would probably be Miku's. Well, everybody knows who Hatsune Miku is, but
I was about to say, if you know who Hatsune Miku is the like most famous Vocaloid.
Yeah. But then so it was Tuna Taco, And then
The taco being octopus.
right. And then so it was like tuna and then taco. Taco is Japanese for octopus, and every character has character items that are associated with them. Most people know that Miku has the leek, like the little spring onion
Leek
thing.
spin.
Yeah. A couple of the other characters like Kaito has ice cream, Rin and Len have oranges and bananas, I think. But Luca has a tuna fish, but also there was a side thing where her hair reminded people of an octopus, so she also had octopus or taco. And then I had changed my name to Tuner Taco on Twitch. Was I believe because it was originally Tuna Taco. Then I changed it
As in the
Tuner.
fish. Yes.
Yeah, the Tuner Taco. And that's why my emotes are still Tuner. Like Tuner T for the Tuner. That's when I got affiliated, and then I changed it back to Tuna Taco. Like shortly thereafter, and so that's why everybody knew me on Twitch as Tuna Taco, and that's why it was Jinx and Tuna.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to get rid of it. I wanted a shorter name, a cooler name.
Lol.
And Jinx, when Jinx says tuna, like tuna, because he was from like English, like England, he'd say
I spent
tuner.
the first 12 years of my life living in England, so it's one of those. It's one of the A's I pronounce differently from Americans.
Yeah, so he'd say like tuner, and then like also we met through Eric's Discord, and they're all from England, like they live in England, and so like 267 and Central would Paradise Central would say like tuner, so I was like, okay, we'll do tuner, and that also played into my main hobbies are cars and guitars.
Yeah.
Which I exclusively drive and work on Japanese cars, which are known as tuner cars.
Tuner cars.
And then also guitars and other stringed instruments have tuning keys or tuners to keep them in tune. So
it works so well.
It works on many levels.
So many levels.
And mine's a lot more complicated than yours.
Tuner's like, here is the tumultuous history of my various different names over the course of this Twitch channel and YouTube channel, and here is all of the deep meaning behind my final name I have that works on so many different levels of my own person. I mean, and I'm just like, I'm Chinese and manic.
I mean, you could boil mine down to I'm a weeb and I like cars.
I mean, yeah, I'm a weeb and I like guitars and cars. I'm Chinese and I'm manic a lot. Lol.
I mean, oh jeez.
Hey everyone, so at this point we start talking about a heavier subject, so if you are in a situation where it'll be inappropriate for you to be listening to something talk about heavier subjects, or you are with people who you don't want to be hearing that kind of thing, or you yourself have a risk of being triggered by this, then I would recommend that you turn off the podcast. There is also a timestamp on screen that you can skip to if you want to just skip over this entire heavier subject we're talking about, which I'm about to say what the subject is if you want to stop the video. But yeah, we basically just discussed the Travis Scott concert that happened recently where several people were killed. Alright, content warning over, enjoy the video.
The only other, speaking of music and manic and fucking destruction and all of this culminating, the only other piece of news I had was last night, 8 people were killed at a Travis Scott concert.
Holy shit,
300 people were injured.
Holy shit, what happened?
They stormed the stage and it was so crowded because people were jumping the fence and it was like packed beyond what it was supposed to, that people were so tightly packed together that people could not breathe and people would fall over like just because of asphyxiation and they would get trampled. 300 people got injured, the youngest being 10 years old had to go to the hospital, and 8 people died.
Oh my god.
There is a limit for a reason, people.
Yeah.
And please, if you go to a concert, like the first rule of the pit is you look out for people. If
Yep.
somebody is getting hurt, you take them out of the pit. Like, I don't even know if they could have done that because apparently there was so crowded that just like there was no room. Like, if you had your arms up, that was where they were staying. If your feet were there, you weren't moving anywhere.
Christ.
Yeah, like apparently they like there was this video of them breaking down the fences and then people rushing in, and it looked like a fucking Black Friday horror video where there was people on the floor and people were running like over them.
Christ.
It was bizarre. I have no idea, dude. I don't think any concerts are worth going and seeing that bad.
Yeah, holy crap. People get really weirdly crazy about the stuff they're passionate about.
I guess
About the
dude.
stuff that makes them feel like they're a part of something bigger. I mean, that like I think they won the Wolves series. Is that what happened? I don't know. I'm in Atlanta and like the Braves, I think just won the World Series or something.
Yeah.
Which is like a huge deal. My coworker even said that like if they win, he's probably gonna cry. And it reminded me a lot of the soccer hooligan shit I saw when I was living in England. And like people just get so insanely invested into these things and these communities that make them feel like they're a part of something bigger, you know?
Yeah.
Like their sports teams and their music scenes and like all this kind of stuff.
And their
People just
politics.
get
I mean, what?
really yeah, they just get really invested into these things that make them feel like there's something that it gives them that feeling of like being in something bigger, you know? Religion does a very similar thing for a lot of people too, in churches and whatnot. And like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's a beautiful thing in some senses that people can find this kind of comfort and happiness and find this thing that helps them get through the drudgery of their life and their day and being under the steel pressing boots of like capitalism and blah 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 liberal buzzwords and shit. But like it's always wild to see like the results of these kinds of things turning into these weird travesties like the Travis Scott concert.
Yeah. I don't know if there's like anybody in critical condition, but it's like 8 people died on scene, 300 injured. I guess we'll see in the coming days if anybody was in critical condition, but I mean, just
Yep.
watching what had happened. There was no footage of like people in the concert, but like just watching when they broke through the fence. I mean,
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised if somebody died there, you
Yeah.
know? But I mean, definitely
Crazy shit.
somebody got their like lungs bashed in by somebody's foot when they were being walked on, but it's just nuts. Please care about other people. Please,
Yes, please.
I know we've been isolated, and I know a lot of people like just finally getting back into the world, and just like please care about people.
Yeah,
please,
that would be nice.
please care.
Please don't trample over other people
Please
for
remember.
any reason.
Please remember.
Yep.
Please remember.
Please be kind to your fellow human being and don't trample them to death because you're excited about musician person with guitar.
Wait, what guitar?
Isn't Travis Scott a guitar?
Travis Scott is a rapper. He made Sicko Mode.
Oh, okay.
He was
Gotcha.
that guy in Fortnite.
For some reason, my brain was like, "Oh, Tuner's talking about musician. It must be guitar."
No. Travis Scott's the Fortnite guy. That's all you need to know.
Okay, yeah. I got it. On quick side news of music related stuff, I am considering learning to play the pipa.
The pipa, which is
I am so bad at pronouncing Chinese properly. It's pipa. Yeah, pipa.
Is it like is the I with like the U shape above it, or is it?
It's pipa. It's
so
pipa.
flat.
It's double flat, I think, if I recall correctly. Yeah, it's
Pipa.
double flat internet. Pipa. But yeah, it turns out that there is literally no one on the internet who advertises as a classical Chinese instruments teacher in Atlanta on the internet. But it's Kay because my mom's Chinese in the Chinese community in Atlanta, and she is like, "Oh yeah, no, that's totally like a Chinese instrument, like classical instrument music school in Duluth. You just got but they don't advertise on the internet. They advertise like through word of mouth in the community and like Chinese newspapers and shit like that. So she's gonna find out more information from me, and hopefully that might be a thing at some point.
Jinx,
Although I'm gonna have to be dropping like $400 minimum on like a starter instrument because like
I told you just get a nice
they're more
ukulele,
expensive, but
dude.
no, I've got to lean into the Chinese thing.
Dude, okay, let me ask you, because I'm white. I'm white as they come,
Yeah.
but I am technically Irish if I
Yeah.
go back far enough. If I cared. Some people consider Irish to be, in some ways, a minority, but I'm not here there to discuss that.
Let's not open up that can of worms of different layers of oppression with privilege intersecting in bizarre ways. That's not
right.
Yeah.
But for all intents and purposes, I don't give a shit that I'm Irish. I've never been into like, oh, let me start. Oh, I'm gonna go over to Ireland and kiss the Blarney Stone. I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck.
But see, like, that's a core difference is that like my Chinese
and that's what I was
heritage-
gonna ask you
Yeah,
is like, do you care about
to some
being Chinese?
in a lot of ways, yes. I would say that my Chinese heritage and how the culture affected me growing up was an instrumental and important part of myself. And it's one of those things where it's like I can appreciate historical Chinese culture and my family's traditions and whatnot, while also not agreeing with the current government in place in China,
Mhm.
right? Because part of the reason that like the two instruments that like hit different for me when I hear them are the pipa and the violin. Because I grew up listening to a lot of classical music, and I grew up watching a lot of historical kung fu movies, and my parents watching a lot of historical Chinese dramas. And so, like, there is a lot of this, like, the emotions of, like, nostalgia and, like, the nostalgia for, like, a younger, more innocent, better time that, like, the sounds of a pipa, invoke in me. And so there is a specific magic about how it hit different for me that makes me want to learn the pipa, even though like functionally it's very similar to like say a banjo, and I could learn banjo much more easily and more cheaply here down in Georgia, right? But there is just something special about the sounds it makes.
I just imagine Jinx sitting on a log. Why are there so many songs about?
I mean, Jenny's expressed interest in learning the banjo, and they're both that like 5-finger picking style instruments. So, yeah. For I guess real quick for those who don't know what a pipa is. So the reason this came back to mind recently.
What is it? There's the anime.
Yeah, so like it's a Chinese cartoon, but it's a Chinese anime basically called Scissor 7. It's basically Chinese Gintama. And like I just sent you the cover if you want to play it on stream or whatever, but I sent you the cover of like their of this traditional like pipa musician who does covers of shows.
I'm playing it if you stop.
Okay. Point is, I heard this in the new intro for that new show for season 3 that just came out, and it reminded me about how magical this instrument is to me. But yeah, you can play it. I feel like you should play the actual video too, because it's part of it is watching the person perform it.
All right, there's 30 seconds. We can play 30 seconds without getting like screwed. So
Fair. I mean, she's not big enough to like demonetize us.
I'm just saying we
fair.
can play 30 seconds without being screwed. So
I feel like you should play 30 seconds of the actual video though, because like part of the whole thing about the pipa too is watching the performance of it.
Oh, you mean putting the
actual video up on screen? Yeah.
Oh. Okay, well, since I played the audio clip, now I can only show the video.
Lol.
I like her boots.
Yeah, me too.
And it's funny because I was telling Jinx, like, this, he said something about how this is considered the hardest
Chinese instrument to play.
Chinese
traditional Chinese
yeah.
instruments, it's considered the most difficult one to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Scissor 7 season 3 theme song.
So he said that like this is the hard, and I'm looking at this and I'm like, there's no possible way that this is more complicated than a regular guitar. And then we kind of sat down and looked through all of like the things that you're doing with it and all of like the things is like, oh, so you don't actually, so it has frets, but you don't actually apparently press down on the frets. So I'm like, okay, so this is no more complicated than a steel guitar.
Yeah. Which is like encouraging to hear that even though it's considered one of the more difficult ones to play, it's not necessarily more difficult than other instruments people pick up pretty regularly.
Yeah. So
I mean, like there is a lot you have to learn in terms of like the finger technique specifically, since it's got the whole like 5-finger pick thing going on. Like the kind of the signature technique of the pipa is the tremolo, where you're like playing like 5 to 10 notes a second sort of thing with all of your fingers.
yeah.
And like there's quite a bit in terms of like when you see like really skillful like musicians playing traditional pieces, they have a lot of different like hand movements and angles and speeds and whatnot to make different kinds of twangs and whatnot, because a lot of the classical music has all that.
But that's what I'm saying.
Nothing,
like that's not more complicated than guitar. Sometimes you play down by the bridge, sometimes you play in the center, sometimes you play over by the neck. There's times where like it's on the neck, but you play like sliding forward up the neck. I'm trying to tell you is like, don't be discouraged by them saying this is the hardest instrument. This doesn't look any more complicated than any other stringed instrument.
Yeah, which is encouraging. So thank you for
that.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, it is now 2:37, so I gotta hop off.
Yeah.
Now that we sandwiched the Travis Scott travesty with soft stuff in between, we can end on a high note. LOL.
But I really appreciate you guys. If you guys have an Amazon Prime, please do remember that if you have an Amazon Prime that is supporting the channel and it's totally free for you. If you don't have a Twitch account, it's totally free to make a Twitch. And then you could just connect your Amazon and your Twitch, and then you can just throw a Prime.
Throw a Prime at the Prime sub or the Twitch channels.
And it actually helps us out a lot. So
it really does. And for those of you watching on YouTube, thanks for watching the podcast, and thanks for watching all the way to the goddamn end, because like fucking 10% of you do. You're in a special club.
Hey guys, did you know that only 10% of my 10% of my watchers subscribe?
Yep. Anyway, have a good one, guys. Bye.